Well, welcome back to the Falcon Nest and a little update as to where we are with Project Bluebird here. We've been driving it a couple of times and found a few things that need correcting. So one is, thanks to my credit card and Rock Auto, we have a new starter. So the starter that's currently in there starts the car, but when it gets hot, it doesn't want to turn over. I thought originally I had a battery problem, but turns out it's a starter not wanting to spin over when it's hot, so you got to get down in there and yank that old guy out. Very easy job to do on this car, so that's not a big deal. So the battery was actually not the problem. The Never Start from Walmart actually does start the car. One other thing that we had was a carburetor and throttle linkage that didn't want to fully return to the set rest position. And so we went to the local hardware store and got ourselves this lovely new shiny spring, which we have put inside and through the original spring. The original spring worked pretty good, but there was just like a little 1/16 of an inch final movement at the end that it just wouldn't pull it back completely. So I've gotten the second spring to put on there just to give it a little extra oomph to get it back, and so it will idle properly instead of deciding that it wants to idle at 1200 RPM instead of the 800 or so where it's supposed to. So there's that. Now, the other thing that's been happening is when we start the car and it's warm, we go about 4 or 5 car lengths and then we shut off. And I'm pretty sure it's just vapor lock in this metal steel fuel line. So I'm going to purchase some fuel line insulation and see if that helps cure it. The optimum idea to get rid of vapor lock in these old cars is to adapt one of those fuel filters with a return line and run a return line back to the tank. But then you have to run a return line back to the tank, which is, that's a lot of distance and got to bend the metal and, do all that to try to make that happen. So I'm not sure I want to do that, but we may wind up having to, at least after the V8's in here, because that's going to make even more heat. So it's just the curse of ethanol fuel these days. I don't think we have any choice but to try to deal with it. What else? Well, the brakes, the four-wheel drums with the puny little 6-cylinder brakes actually work tremendously well. I'm astounded at how good the brakes in this car are. It's really amazing. Just got nothing but good things to say, and it pains me to do so because I absolutely despise drum brakes, at least working on them. But they work good. The pedal height, to me, seems high. Now, I don't know why that is. Sorry about the poor lighting, but the pedal just seems like it's really high. I mean, I got to really raise my foot up to get on the thing. I haven't looked to see if there's any adjustment underneath there, but really I don't understand why it would be way out of whack unless that's just the way it is. So we have that. The biggest problem that I've encountered so far is the steering. I got the alignment done and it goes down the road straight like it should, but this steering system, and I'm 90% sure it's the box, just does not want to move easily, smoothly, return to center on its own. It's very random about how it likes to do things. Sometimes it will want to come back towards center, and then other times it just, you got to do it manually. And that harkens back to when I had the steering assembly under the car completely off of it and turning the wheel and still feeling that resistance in there. So I think the steering gears are probably worn, and or the bearings that are in there are just little roller bearings, individuals. that might be, mulched up a bit. So yeah, it's just not good. So currently now looking for a steering box to replace this one with, which is a problem because this is a long shaft, being a 66. So that's just it for now. Oh, I had to replace this headlight because it quit working on low beam. The original Ford Motor Company or Fomoco headlight was in there. How about that? So that's where we are, just driving it and checking things out. It seems to have a noise in the rear someplace that I thought was a wheel bearing, but it doesn't really change with side load or brake application. So I'm not sure what's going on there yet. I gotta do a little bit more experimentation. So quick update, and I'll tag this on to some more when I have more to report. Just that's where we are after a week or so of test driving. All right, we're back in the garage again. And, well, we've had some issues. So, let's talk about what's been going on. I took the car out for probably its longest drive. It was about 30 minutes just around the local area. Didn't really take it anywhere, destination-wise. But, we found some problems. Well, first of all, let's talk about the starter, which we did get replaced. And you can see my shiny new starter, which is not the one I showed you moments ago in the preceding video, because Rock Auto sent me the wrong one. The starter that they sent only has 2 bolts to mount it to the bow housing, where the original has 3. Now, I don't know what their deal is with their cataloging, but it's not right, and the sample pictures that they had for all the starters that they sell for this car all showed 2 bolt mounts. So I sent it back. I didn't bother getting another one from them, and spent an additional $10 to get this one from my local Napa. It is remanufactured in Mexico versus the Delco version that I had gotten from Rock Auto, which is remanufactured in China. And this carries a 3-year warranty where the other one only had 2. So pretty confident it seems that Napa is in their ability to have starters remanufactured across the border. So good. That's on. That works fantastically. The car actually starts now, and it starts with authority. Hot or cold doesn't matter. We were able to determine that the battery was not a problem. That thing's okay, checks out fine, so we're good there. I also got the fuel line heat tubing, I guess we'll call it, to try to keep the heat from getting to the fuel. And this is from DEI. This is a brand that Vice Grip Garage recommends frequently. It is... If you look at their reviews, there has been some complaints about the product coming too short. This is supposed to be, I believe, 3 feet, if I remember right. And the reviews are not wrong. It is an inch short. They chip you an inch on this instead of 36 inches, only got 35. Didn't matter for this because I actually wound up cutting like an inch off of it to make it fit. But if you're measuring for these things and they're expecting 36 inches or more in your 36-inch package, wrong. So that's disappointing. I don't know that Derek is aware of that or not, but DEI needs to up their game there. They're jipping everybody an inch on their tubing, it seems. Don't know why that is. I mean, I can't imagine this product shrinks an inch once it's packaged. It just doesn't make sense to me. So that's kind of annoying. So just beware. I mean, it's $15 and it's the length that it is, and it's fine. It's a nice product. But I did put this on, and after driving the car, it did not seem to do anything at all for the vapor locking. Still. You can start the car and go to move it, and then it stalls, and you got to restart it again once or twice till it finally clears its throat. So there's no ongoing problem with that. It may not be this product that's not helping. It may just be that the problem isn't in the fuel line. It might just be that the carburetor's getting heat soaked. What do we do about that? Well, I don't know if there's anything you can do on the 6-cylinder. There is no phenolic spacer that I'm aware of that goes underneath the carb to help with the heat soak. And I don't know of any way that you can really put a heat shield in there that's going to do much of anything. So the sooner we get rid of the 200, I think the happier we all will be. And we can move on to the V8. If you got a 206 and you've solved this problem, I'd love to hear about it. Again, you can use a return fuel line to keep the fuel cycling through the system. That'll help keep cool fuel at the carb. But, you know, you got to run that fuel line back to the tank and make a fitting for that. So it's not exactly a 2-minute thing to fix. And the other issue after driving it, I have a habit of this car forgetting that I have set the parking brake. So I'm driving down the road with the back brake on, and that's not helpful, obviously. But it happened the other day, and I, got, a couple blocks from my house, maybe, and realized, oh yeah, I can smell the brakes. So pulled the handbrake off and got that released, and everything was fine, or so I thought. And I'm, doing my test drive and driving it around. I'm like, why do I still smell brakes? What's that all about? And the car was, acceleration-wise, it was coming and going. If you were trying to accelerate or pull away from a stop, whether it really wanted to go or whether it was really being doggy. And it didn't seem to be an engine problem as much as maybe a transmission issue or something like that. I did find that the transmission fluid level was about maybe half a quart to 3/4 of a quart low, so I added some more. Went back out again and still wasn't too impressed with it, and began to fear that my C4 was on its last legs. However, when I returned home and pulled in the driveway and still smelling what smelled like brakes, I realized that the car was not rolling in neutral. It would not move. The brakes were applied. So I'm thinking, okay, I didn't replace the hoses, and if the hoses swell, which they can do when they get old, they will swell shut. And then the brake fluid can't return from the wheel cylinders, and those wheels will lock. So I jacked the car up and checked each wheel, and all 4 were tightly applied. So that led me to believe that it was not a brake hose, because I know the one in the back is brand new. I did not replace the front ones, but they were relatively new looking. And it wouldn't explain why the back brakes are locked up too. So I cracked the lines here on the master cylinder loose, both of them, and let some fluid come out, release the pressure, tighten them back up, and the brakes were released. My guess is that the master cylinder has an issue. Now, it doesn't look very old cosmetically, but the fluid that came out of it is kind of brown and rusty and gross looking. So I'm thinking maybe the internals of that are in the same condition that the wheel cylinders that I showed a while ago were in. It also might explain why the pedal's so high in this car. And when the brakes were locked on, the pedal was all the way at the top and you couldn't move it at all. There was no play fore or aft in it. So we might be looking at a master cylinder replacement. Another part that is supposed to be on there only temporarily that I do not wish to buy, because I'm going to be going to dual circuits and doing the disc brake conversion at some point. Yet, I'm probably going to wind up buying and installing one, because I still want to be able to drive this car in the interim, because it's going to be a little while till we get to all that other stuff. So, probably going to order that. So the test drive was a success in the fact that we found a bunch of things wrong with this car still. Well, what fresh hell is this? I came out to the garage the other day and found this blood trail coming from underneath the car. I don't know if we can see it here in the camera, but good lighting here, but essentially, the transmission's leaking. It seems as if we've poofed the front pump seal, and now we've got this crime scene under the car, and the diminishing amount of oil dry from my supply, that I'm actually going to have to buy another whole bag here shortly. So that's fabulous. So yeah, every time we take a step forward, it seems like 2 steps go back. This is the joy of having an old car project when you are not trying to do a complete restoration from the ground up. So, I guess we're going to have to pull the tranny out